Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to break down the 5-game NBA main set on Tuesday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. Before we get into the video, I want to thank you guys again for the continued support, closing in right now on 7.5 thousand subscribers. If you guys do enjoy this content, would really appreciate if you could leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't want to go live. Let's aim for 300 likes on this video if we can get that. If you guys cannot watch these videos, I do upload an Apple Podcast. I have a link down below. If you guys are interested in signing up for premium content, I now offer that on patreon.com. Also link down below. And finally, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring the show. If you guys are not familiar with PrizePicks, it's a site you can bet on player props, right? So you're betting on fantasy projections here. So basically, again, LeBron James is projected for 50 fantasy points. Do you like the over or do you like the under on that? Tomorrow. That's basically the idea. You can mix sports too. Like you can play a couple from college basketball, a couple from NBA. They have esports on here too. So again, it's kind of a fun way to get different from DraftKings. If you guys want to sign up, you can use the code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You get a 100% match up to $100. You put $100 in, you get $200 to play with. But with that all out of the way, let's jump into the video. Before we talk about players and their prices for the slate, let's take a look back at my lineup here from Monday. So Monday, there was some tilting, but I made mistakes. I made mistakes on Monday. We can go over my lineup, but I got to warn you, there's a lot of snowflakes. Not great. Not great day for me. So Luka, yes, low on Luka, I hit on that. But Aaron Holiday, so I did not want to play Aaron Holiday. I did not want to play him at all. I had DeLon Wright in here, and we got news that he wasn't starting. They were starting Wayne Ellington. So I figured that's one more body in the rotation. And I just had a little uneasy feeling. I was like, I think there's a chance he might get a DNP. So the only option I had there was Aaron Holiday, and 6 fancy points. Thanks a lot. Again, did not want to play him at all. The rest of my lineup, I went to Maxi Kleber once he got ruled starting as a value play. Picks up 4 fouls. Foul trouble. And then the mistake I made here was John Wall. Was playing John Wall. So, point guard was just so loaded today, and the best value play was Peyton Pritchard. And I knew it. And I didn't play him. So 100% I made a mistake there. I was just kind of set on playing John Wall. I liked his price. The Dallas defense, honestly, is pretty solid this year. So got to take that in consideration for future slates. They've been playing pretty well, right? They shut down like Miami to 80-something real life points. But yeah, it's just try to get too cute there and play John Wall. Should have just taken the free square and Peyton Pritchard. Especially once Marcus Smart got rolled out, they just had very, very thin rotation. So, yeah, definitely made a mistake there. What I should have done was, obviously played Peyton Pritchard here and then upgraded, the value plays. Now, Saddiq Bey was the absolute chalk. I think we got a bit unlucky there. He was a guy that was going to play about 30 minutes. That game did stay close, surprisingly. The reason why he was pretty popular, too, and the reason I felt a little bit more comfortable playing him was he was blowout proof, in my opinion. I looked at the roster and I was like, you know what? He's going to play either way if the game stays close or the game blows out. Just had a very, very low 11 fantasy points and I think close to 30 minutes. So got a bit unlucky there. I think him and Peyton Pritchard were the 2 top value plays. But yeah, Saddiq Bey, unfortunate. Again, he was the chalk in this one. But yeah, my mistakes were, again, just I should have taken the free square with Peyton Pritchard, and I knew it. So that was a mistake, and it cost me big time. So, and also, again, the Maxi Kleber foul trouble. Didn't want to play Aaron Holiday at all, but I know their choice there. So just unfortunate the way it worked out for me. Hope you guys had a better night. If you guys are curious what the core was, it was Luka, Holmes, Harrison Barnes, Steph Curry. I can see Harrison Barnes has a nice start for me. 1 now. I swear, if he lets me down when I finally buy into him, the tilt will actually be really real if that happens. But yeah, that's it for the look back, and just a frustrating night, and a night where I can 100% admit I made mistakes. So let's move on to this 5-game slate for Tuesday, and let's go team by team for this one. We don't have. I looked on Bovada. We don't have any of the Vegas odds out yet. So first, Utah and Brooklyn. On the Utah side, this is a good matchup for these guys. Rudy Gobert's price is now about right. He should be about 8K. He's had back-to-back games, or that last game, against the Clippers, he got in foul trouble. That last game, or 2 games ago against the Clippers, he got in foul trouble. The last game was a blowout. He's normally going to play mid-30s minutes. And the matchup is solid here, but he's no longer like a good play. I think he's just a fine play if you land on him. Again, not a priority for me. Donovan Mitchell has been just a little up and down. 7-4 seems a little cheap for this matchup, a little cheap. So I think he is playable. Again, does have some upside here. Mike Conley, also been up and down. He's had a couple big games, a couple kind of letdown games. It's just the Jazz are a team I never like seeing on a slate, to be honest, because they're not a team that they play really slow and they're a good defensive team, and they're just a balanced team. So it's always hard to figure out like who it's going to be for the Jazz. Like they have Bojan that'll play big minutes, but very, very scoring dependent. I mean, look, right, when he's not hitting his shots, the floor is literally single digits. But when he's hitting his shots, he can go for 30 plus. So Bojan's one of the guys I just never, ever play in DFS. Never, ever play because the floor is just so low. Would rather play guys who fill up the stat sheet, and then when they're having a good shooting night, they have a great night, rather than the guys who are scoring dependent, and when they're not hitting the shots, they will absolutely ruin your lineup. So, yeah, he's just a guy I never play in DFS. Jordan Clarkson's at 5'2", a little pricey now. I do like the matchup, but he's only like 19, 21, 20. The minutes are not as high on Jordan Clarkson I would like to be. So, yeah, not as excited there. Royce O'Neal had a big game last game, but I would pump the brakes. 35 is like the absolute ceiling for Royce O'Neal. He's a lower usage guy. He should play over 30 minutes, but what you can expect normally from Royce O'Neal is like 15 to 25 fantasy points. So at 4.8, is it needed on the slate? I don't know. And Ingles isn't playing huge minutes either. He's been a little up and down. There's just no one really that stands out on the Jazz. I don't like seeing the Jazz on the slate. They're all like fine plays, filler plays, but no one I'm prioritizing really. Now let's talk about Brooklyn. So Brooklyn, we got to mention KD, right? KD is out. So this changes some things. Even in a bad matchup, I have interest in Kyrie and LeVert because if you look at the rest of this roster, it's just a bunch of low usage guys. So it's going to be Kyrie. It's going to be LeVert. I like them both. I assume LeVert is going to start. If he doesn't start, would make him a little riskier because, LeVert's only been playing like mid-20s minutes off the bench. That's not great. Both note with such a high usage guy out of the offense like KD, I would assume he starts, but you never know. They could change some things around. They've been starting TLC. I mean, they could move Taurean Prince in the starting lineup. We'll see what they do. If LeVert does start, would like him a lot more. I still think he's viable either way because he's going to have to do a lot more offensively with KD off the court. Obviously, I've interest in Kyrie as well. He is going to be the main guy, the guy the offense runs around, Kyrie Irving. So even in a bad spot, I think he is one of the better spend up to the slate. So yeah, Kyrie and Karis LeVert are the two guys I'm looking to. As far as the value, I don't know if we have to go here. Like Jordan and Allen are splitting the minutes. Jarrett Allen is playing more recently, or playing a little bit more recently, and he has more upside. But 6K, right? It's just like don't think we have to do it. Like Joe Harris is fine. His role's not going to change. He's going to stand in the corner, shoot threes, maybe fall into some rebounds. So I think he's just a fine play. Would definitely prioritize Karis LeVert over Joe Harris in the mid range. Again, DeAndre Jordan's minutes are going down. TLC will probably start, but again, reliant on the scoring, has a pretty low floor. And then they just run like a big bunch of like low upside guys in the lineup. Like they have Taurean Prince, they'll play about 20 minutes. Shamet probably about 20 minutes. Jeff Green will probably play about 20 minutes. So it's just like probably prefer if one of these guys starts, like I would probably prefer that guy the most. Now Taurean Prince started that last game. KD was out against Memphis, only played 19 minutes. So it's like, do we have to go here? I don't know if we have to. But yeah, I think if they do start one of those value guys, like whether it be like Prince or Jeff Green, probably would prefer them for value. But really, it's the main two guys there with Kyrie and LeVert, with Kevin Durant out of the lineup. Now, Lakers and Memphis, this game I have an uneasy feeling about. This Memphis team is really not good with no Ja Morant, and there's definitely some blowout risk. LeBron James, they've had him listed as questionable the last like 5 games. He's going to play. So with LeBron and AD playing in a good matchup, I think they're good options at the top. But again, I'm just a little bit worried this game does not stay competitive. So I think if you do play one of these Lakers guys, it probably would make sense to run it back with either like Dylan Brooks or Kyle Ant, one of those guys where like they're going to have a big game if Memphis is going to stay competitive. Now, I said the same thing about Milwaukee and Detroit tonight. I said if you're playing Giannis Antetokounmpo, to run it back with Derrick Rose or Jeremy Grant. And Derrick Rose had the huge game. I forget what he finished with fantasy points wise, but I saw he had like mid-20s real life points, like 7 assists. So D-Rose smashed. Again, if you played Giannis, also had a really good game. But that's kind of my same analysis here. And it's going to be the same thing with Minnesota and Denver again, which I said in the last slate. I said if you're going to play Jokic, run it back with either D'Lo or Beasley, because I'm not convinced that game stays competitive. If it does, we know where it's coming from. But yeah, back to the Lakers again. So LeBron, AD are good options to the top, but again, a little worried about this game staying or blowing out. Schroeder is just a fine play in the mid-range. When both LeBron and AD are playing, he's just a secondary play. I'm not going to pay that price for Montrezl Harrell. Again, Kuzma I'm not going to get to unless LeBron is out. He's just too scoring dependent. When LeBron and AD are both there, he's just too reliant on the scoring. So, yeah, I'm just not going to get to Kuzma at that price. Marc Gasol at 4-3, play about 20 minutes. You can punt with him, but I don't know if it's needed. Now, KCP, this is actually pretty big news. He's listed as questionable. Mentioned THT as a sneaky value play last slate. And with KCP out, THT came out the bench and played 24 minutes. So if KCP is out again, I actually have interest in THT for value. And if you guys follow me in the preseason, this is a guy that made us a ton of money. If KCP is out, I think we get about 20 minutes from THT. He's a talented guy. If the game blows out, that's even better for him because he'll get extended more. So I have interest in THT. And if you're playing for the blowout, if you think this game does blow out, I think you want to, I think he looks even better. Let's move on to Memphis. So again, still no John Morant. Jonas Valanciunas at 7-6 really hasn't had like a big game yet. Expected him to do a little bit better here with no John Morant. It is a tougher matchup, so I think he's just a secondary play for me. Now, Kyle Anderson, Dillon Brooks, these are the two guys that have to step it up if they want to keep it close. Now, Dillon Brooks, again, shot the ball 3 of 15. Did not shoot it well, but the shot attempts will be there for him. It's just a matter of does he hit his shots. So again, if you're playing LeBron or AD, I would run it back with probably one of Dillon Brooks or Kyle Anderson. Slow-mo's been pretty solid. He's had 3 40 fantasy point games this year. So those two are decent plays in the mid-range. But again, like I said, I'm a little concerned this game does not stay competitive. Tyus Jones at 5-7, should play over 30 minutes. Fine play, not a priority. Brandon Clark at 5-3, probably plays mid-20s minutes. Again, fine, not a priority. Gorgie Jang has been getting extended a little bit because of the blowouts. I think we probably get 15 to 20 minutes out of him if the game stays close. Probably 20 plus if the game does blow out. I actually think he's a decent punt play. Now, my only concern is I think people box score watch and see 18, 30, 30, and 19, and he'll probably be pretty high owned. If he's going to be like really popular for value, then I'll just look elsewhere. But yeah, if we get, again, I expect about 15 to 20 minutes in a close game, probably 20 plus in a blowout. I think he is a decent punt play at that price. The issue I have with these guards is DeAnthony Melton is now healthy. So, and, is he going to play the full game? We're not really sure. So, that kind of hurts Desmond Bane. Konchar's out. Grayson Allen's healthy. You can punt with one of these guards. Bane's price came up to 4-2. I don't know if I would do it on this slate. Xavier Tillman also played a bit, like he in his first game back. So it's just, I think the only bench guy I would really consider would probably be Gorgie Jang there on Memphis. But let's move on to Minnesota and Denver. So again, my same analysis, right? If you're playing Jokic or Jamal Murray, you're going to want to run it back with one of these two guys. I said, these are the two guys who have to have big games. D'Lo, 40 fantasy points last game. They kept it close. Malik Beasley, 48. But when I play them against Washington in a much better matchup, a much easier matchup, they get blown out. Isn't that just cool? So there's a little tilting for you. But yeah, D'Lo, Malik Beasley, like them both, more contrarian plays because I think there's a chance this Minnesota team is really not good. So definitely a chance this game blows out too. But again, if you are playing Jokic or Jamal Murray, you're going to want to run it back with one of these two guys because the only way Jokic and Jamal Murray have like a huge upside game is if this game stays close. The only way this game stays close is if D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley, one or both, have big games. And Naz Reid, I'm not going to do it on this slate. Against Nikola Jokic, they started Ed Davis too, and I'm not playing him against Nikola Jokic. He just can't keep his hands to himself. So yeah, if I knew he was going to stay out of foul trouble and play close to 30 minutes, I would really like him. But it's just every single game he's in foul trouble. Rubio, secondary play at 5K. Same with Edwards. Culver, 4-4 has been up and down. 5 fancy points when he was chalk, and then 33 the next night. So, man, I can't imagine the tilt if you played Jared Culver here because he was actually pretty popular. 5 fancy points. Next night, 33. I feel for you if you played him 2 games ago. But Ed Davis, so they started him last game. Curious to see what they do again. If he picks up the start, I would think he probably gets close to 20 minutes at least, as long as he stays out of foul trouble. But again, he was also in foul trouble against Jokic. So 3.4K. If they start Ed Davis again at center, I think he's a viable punt. They also did start Juancho Hernan-Gomez. He played 26 minutes, didn't do a ton in those minutes. But if he starts again, I think he would be a viable punt. Again, he's a decent offensive player, so would have some interest in him if he does pick up a start. But that's really it there from the Minnesota side. And the Denver side is the top two guys. Jokic, Murray, both look fantastic in this matchup. Jokic got in a little bit of foul trouble, still crushed in 32 minutes. Jamal Murray had a ceiling game. He went for, I think, 51. So these two are just in a fantastic matchup. Again, third time I'm saying this, but if you're playing one of these two guys, I would run it back with one of those Minnesota guys. I would. So, yeah, really like Jokic, really like Murray. Same thing I'll say about Lakers and Memphis. I'm a little bit worried this game does not stay competitive. Will Barton at 5'7". So, if you played him last slate, you got a bit unlucky. He only played 22 minutes, wasn't in foul trouble. So, yeah, he didn't shoot the ball well, but that's not a good sign that he only played 22 minutes. So if I knew Will Barton was going to play mid-30s minutes in this matchup, I would like him a good amount. But again, a little uneasy feeling based off that last game. Like Paul Millsap's not playing a ton of minutes. I don't know if we have to go there. Gary Harris is just such a low floor. 6 fancy points at last game. Monte Morris at 4.8 played a little bit more the last game, but again, almost 5K. Do we have to do that? They just have like JaMychal Green, again, played a little bit more because the Jokic foul trouble. How many minutes does he get without the Jokic foul trouble? I'm not sure. But I think they're kind of using him like, not necessarily like a Jeremy Grant role, but he's coming out the bench and should get some decent minutes. Again, played 27 the last game. I think he's a viable punt play. Again, 12 the first game, 27 the second game. I would think we get somewhere in between that for minutes-wise for JaMychal Green. So maybe like 18 to 20. So yeah, he's a viable punt. PJ Dozier is actually an interesting contrarian play. Hasn't really done a ton with the minutes he's been getting, but has gotten 23 and 20 minutes. Only 12 fantasy points in those games, but 3.2K, doesn't need a ton. And if this game does blow out, he's going to get extended. So same thing I'll say about THT. If you think the Lakers blow them out, you want to play THT. If you think that the Nuggets blow them out, I think you want to interest in a guy like PJ Dozier. All right, let's move on to San Antonio and the Clippers. So on the Spurs side, DeRozan, the offense has been running through him. He's been really consistent. Was on pace to have a really nice game again, and the game blew out. So sure, price is up to 7.9. The matchup against the Clippers not necessarily the best, but he's been really good, and he's been really consistent. Stuff in the stat sheet. I think he is firmly in play in the mid-range. DeJounte Murray is at 6'8". Shot the ball 1 of 13 last game, so more of an outlier that he shot the ball that bad. He does have upside too. I would say he has a little bit more variance though. DeRozan, I think at the moment is a little safer. DeJounte Murray a little more up and down. Derek White, let's see. Did they already sideline him? Yeah, so he's okay, so he's out for this game. I was just reading that to make sure of that. So he is out. Again, you can feel a little more comfortable with DeJounte Murray's minutes. Now, Keldon Johnson's also been coming. He's been playing really well this season. He's getting good run. He had 36 fantasy points that last game. Like, this guy has some upside. So sure, the price is coming up. I still think he's viable. Now, for me, I would still feel more comfortable with DeMar DeRozan, but I think Keldon is also in play in the mid-range. Aldridge is questionable once again. We'll see if he's available to play. He's really been kind of disappointing in the games he's played so far. If he is out, Jakob Poeltl will probably start and play 20 to 25 minutes, but at 4.8, not a great price on him. I think Rudy Gay is an interesting play at this price. Probably plays mid-20s minutes. He's a guy that is a decent fantasy point per minute guy, so I think he's a fine play. Lonnie Walker at 4.4. Did only play 22 minutes with no Derek White, so that was a little bit concerning. Minutes a little up and down, riskier value play. I think Patty Mills is in the mix too for value. The minutes have been consistent for him, 23, 22, 25, and 23 minutes. There's not a ton of standout value, so I think Patty Mills is definitely a viable value play. And then that's it. Like Drew Eubanks, Trey Lyles, they've kind of been taking turns on who's backing up Jakob Poeltl with no Aldridge. So I don't know if I want to go to either of them. I think that's getting a little bit too cute. And that's it for the Spurs. So, Clipper side, we have a revenge game narrative for Kawhi Leonard at 9.1. I mean, this price looks pretty good for Kawhi. He shot the ball 4 of 21 last game. So if you played Kawhi, I feel for you. Man, that is just terrible. 4 of 21. He's not going to shoot like that again. Revenge spot. Price is down. So I always hammer it down in these videos. I love buying low on guys. I love buying on guys after a bad game, price coming down. He shot 4 of 21. I will tell you, he was not going to shoot 4 of 21 again. Also, $500 decrease in price plus a good matchup. I think Kawhi is one of the better plays on the board here at 9-1. Like him a lot. Paul George at 8-8 has been really good. 50-plus fantasy points the last 3 games. He's also been getting an insane amount of peripheral stats. 1 block, 6 steals, 1 block, 2 steals. No, he is a guy, he's a good defender. He's a guy that will get some steals. So I think Paul George also firmly in play. And he's getting a ton of shots up. 15, 22, 24 shot attempts for Paul George. So I like both these guys. I think I would give the edge to Kawhi. But both of the top Clippers guys I think are a little bit underpriced. Firmly in play. Now with Ibaka versus Ivica Zubac, Ibaka has been getting more run recently here. 23, then 34, then 25 minutes. So I think we probably get about mid-20s minutes. He's a little bit more in play now because he's been getting extended a bit, where Zubac, the minutes have been going a little bit down. Did play 23 the last game, but before that, 14, 15, 18. So I think Ibaka is a decent play there in the mid-range. Again, a little more viable now that he's been getting some more minutes. There's still no Marcus Morris, so sure, you can pull up Nick Batum. Has a pretty low floor, but should get about 30 minutes. I think he's a fine play. Lou Williams actually intrigues me for value. Does have a somewhat low floor. We've seen it in the last couple of games with 14 and 10 fantasy points, but also ceiling for Lou Williams is probably like 35 plus. Like those the 2 previous games, 31 and 26 in blowouts, right? So he was on pace for probably mid-20s minutes. 4.3K doesn't need a ton to pay off his salary. I actually am intrigued for him by him in GPPs. And I think Patrick Beverley is actually an okay value play. 28 and 28 minutes in back-to-back games. Not a guy that has a ton of upside, but I think he's, for a starting point guard that can get you some steals and blocks, I think he's in play for value. Luke Kennard at 3.9. You can do it. For me, though, I would rather take a shot on Lou Williams at a similar price. And that's really it there for the Clippers. So let's finish up with Chicago and Portland. This is the game that I feel the best about. I think this game has a lot of upside if it can stay close. Now, with Chicago, they're still pretty thin. Still no Lauri Markkanen, still no Satoransky, and still no Ryan Arcidiacono, still no Hutchinson. So, again, they're thin. The top 3 guys, I think, all look pretty good. In Levine, Kobe White, Otto Porter Jr. I like all 3 in a good matchup. Again, this game should stay close. Levine had a big game last game, 39 minutes, 59 fantasy points. He has a good amount of upside in this matchup. So, sure, price came up to 8K. I don't know if it came up enough. I do like Levine a good amount. I still mentioned Kobe White too. He's had kind of a slow start to the season, but he still has upside. He can get you obviously a good amount of assists and rebound the ball, right? He can stuff the stat sheet. We haven't really seen the ceiling game from Kobe White, but it's there. He has 40 plus fantasy point upside. It's a good matchup. I'm also intrigued by Kobe White. And finally, Otto Porter. Now, he's not going to play as many minutes. I expect about 30 in a close game. But he is going to be, one of the top options on offense. Again, good matchup against Portland. I think Otto Porter also viable play here at 6.4K. So the top 3 guys I do like for Chicago. Now, Wendell Carter Jr. at 5.7. Minutes have been a little up and down on him. Did only play 23 that last game in a close game. So wasn't really a little concerning. He only played 23 minutes. So not as excited about Wendell Carter Jr. Thad Young, the price is up. I think he's a fine play. Only 14 minutes in back-to-back games, but should play, mid-20s minutes. So, again, fine, not a priority for me. Patrick Williams at 4.2, kind of the same thing. If you landed him, it's decent, but I'm not going to go out of my way to play him. Garrett Temple will get minutes, but he's not really doing much with the minutes. So, 3.3K is really cheap for a guy that probably plays mid-20s minutes. You can throw him in the mix. And then finally, Daniel Gafford's at 3.3. I actually think he's a viable punt here. 22, 16, 19 minutes. I expect somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes. Again, he's a good point per minute guy. I think he's a guy you can look to for some salary relief. Denzel Valentine at 3.2. Again, playing like 15 to 20 minutes. You can throw him in the mix too because he's that cheap. But really, it's the main interest, obviously, is the top 3 guys there with Levine, Kobe White, Otto Porter Jr. Let's finish it up with Portland. So Lillard, CJ in a great spot here. I have interest in. Both have a lot of upside. Both should play, mid to high 30s minutes if this game does stay competitive. So sure, Lillard 9-8. It's not like we're getting him at a great discount, but I do like the matchup a lot for him. Firmly in play. CJ, you can argue, has been playing better than Lillard. He is cheaper too, so you can make the argument to play CJ over Lillard, but I like both guards here. And I'm pretty high on buying low on Yusuf Nurkic. Again, I hammer it down in these videos to buy low on guys. Well, yes, he screwed me the last game because Kanter had the game of his life. I missed the cash by a couple points the other night in GPPs because Nurkic just doesn't play the fourth. They close with Kanter. So, was really happy about that. But the matchup here against the Bulls. Love targeting bigs against the Bulls. Nurkic has really been struggling. People are going to look elsewhere because of recency bias. The upside of Nurkic in this type of matchup is 40 plus. So I will be playing Yusuf Nurkic tomorrow. I don't think the ownership is going to be that high, but love his upside. Love buying low on guys after bad games. I know he's been struggling. I get it, right? I know he has not been shooting well, but this matchup against the Bulls at that price should, if he's playing decent, play about 30 minutes. I'm really high on Yusuf Nurkic at this price. If you think he continues to struggle, if you think Nurkic continues to struggle, then you can look to Enes Kanter. Again, they close with him. He had the game of his life, 44 fantasy points in 24 minutes. He's also a good point per minute guy. So sure, the price is up, but if you think Nurkic continues to struggle, you can look to Kanter. I'm okay with it. Again, I told you guys I will be playing Yusuf Nurkic. Now, the wings on Portland, with Gary Trent Jr. healthy, they have like 4 wings they'll use. And like Covington, Melo, Jones Jr., and Trent Jr. The minutes went way down, and Derrick Jones Jr. to only 17. He did get in some foul trouble. I don't know what the minutes going to be like for these wings. Like, I guess my favorite probably would be Melo at 4-4. I think he gets mid-20s minutes. Again, good matchup. I think Melo would probably be the guy if I'm going to pick one of these guys. Gary Trent Jr. did play 32 minutes, but there was some foul trouble with Derrick Jones Jr. And, the floor is somewhat low on him if he's not hitting his shots, but also the upside is there when he is getting hot. So Gary Trent Jr. you can look to in GPPs because when he is nailing his threes, he does have some upside. And then that's really it for me for the Portland side. And that's going to do it for the video today, guys. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't know live. But yeah, thanks again, guys. I hope you guys all have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow in the live stream.